Welcome back to part 6 of the Touch Me Cal. We have two fantastic textures today. We have some Jacob's Ladder loop stitch work. Now these are not threaded, and there's a reason for that. I just left them, but there are 3 options for this section and I'll talk you through all of them. Then the second section is a beaded section. So I only did 1 row of the beads. You'll do more, of course, but there is also the alternative, which is the honey drop stitch up here, and I will show you how to do that. All of these things give us incredible textures, and especially these when they're threaded. If you thread them and then anchor them, you get that beautiful Jacob's Ladder look. Okay, I will show you everything. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so let's start the Jacob's Ladder section. There is a tutorial. We will be making chain 10 picot loops for this section. It's in the prelude, but I'll show you too. And we also have 3 different finishing suggestions at the end of this section, or the designer has, in case you want to do yours differently. But we'll talk about that then. So let's get started with row 123. You need to have your work right side facing up. Okay, and if you're continuing the colour, most of you are, if you're following the pattern, then you will have finished correctly. You will have finished from the wrong side, you will flip, and now we will continue. So to continue, we need to join and make a chain 2, or if you turn in, just straight chain 2 for your first double crochet. I am going to make my usual standing double crochet. Oops, don't go through all of them, which is what I did. There we go. Standing double crochet to begin. Now, it says another double crochet in the next stitch, so that gives us 2 double crochet. I have a stitch mark here, which I'm going to pull out because it's rattling. It's annoying. There we go. So now we have 2 double crochet, one in each of the first 2 stitches. Now the repeat begins all the way down. It says chain 10 picot and then double crochet 1 in the next 5 stitches. Very, very easy. So we start with the chain 10 picot. If you've read the prelude tutorial, it's 10 chains, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And now we're going to turn it into a picot by reconnecting it back down to the stitch it originated from. Now I do have a video tutorial on the picot stitch on my YouTube channel. There are 2 ways to join. In this pattern, we are joining back into the stitch itself. We're going down through that front loop of the double crochet and out through the side, that very top side loop. Put your hook through there, yarn over, pull through, and pull through again to cinch it down. And now we have a little chain 10 loop right above that double crochet. Then we're going to do a double crochet in each of the next 5 stitches. Very easy. 1 double crochet. That's 1, 5 times. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right. And then we do a chain 10 picot again. So I'll do it, join it the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. If you don't like the look of that, which I don't see why you wouldn't, but if you don't, you can also join back into that very first chain if you really want to do it that way, because some people have preferences. I do prefer joining back into the stitch. It just gives it a bit more stability in my opinion, but you know, that's me, it's my preference. You can do whatever you like. So there we go, that's the second chain 10 picot, and then again 5 double crochet right after it. So you're going to do that all the way down the line. Just make the third one and stop. There we go. So you should have a series of loops. I'll change that one to the way I see. The reason I don't like this one is because it creates a bit of a gap. I'm not thrilled with that, whereas this one, it's really quite neat and tight in there, whereas this one kind of separates out my stitches, which I'm not happy about. Okay, so once you get down to the other end, I'll meet you here. We'll do 1 final chain 10 picot and then 1 last double crochet before we turn. So let's get that done and I'll meet you down the other end. When you get to the other end, those of you making the full pattern, you will have made 39 of these chain 10 picots, and your final repeat will finish right here on the edge. Now it doesn't look like I've got any stitches left, but I have my chain 2 turning chain here, which is my final, where my final stitch is going to be. So after the curly brackets it says chain 10 picot again, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So I'll picot that like that. And then you make 1 double crochet in the next stitch, which is my chain 2. Oops, I forgot my little yarn over there. We go for my double crochet, 1 double crochet in my final stitch to turn. Now if you look at the pattern and you check the stitch count, you'll see you should have exactly your correct stitch count, whatever you started with, 198 for the full pattern across of double crochet, and you will have a total of 40 picots. So yes, we have 2 double crochet at the beginning, you will only have 1 at the end, and that is correct. Okay, so if you haven't done this now yet, go and get it done, and then we're going to turn and come back for the return row. So if you're following the pattern, do not end off your yarn, the colours continue. Back in a minute. So now for row 124, we need to turn. So turn the work over so you're looking at the back of it. Oops. And we have a note that says we're going to ignore these chain 10 loops, okay, from this previous row that we just made. We're going to move them to the back of the work, which is the front of the piece, okay, so be mindful of that. It says move them to the back of the work as we progress down the line, like that, so that they're going to pop out on the front. All right, so let's see how that goes. So to begin, we make a chain 1 that does not count. Sorry, I'm fumbling a bit, and now my stitch marker, my side marker is annoying me. I'm fussy, aren't I? Alright, so we do your chain 1 and put a single crochet in that first stitch, right where that picot ended. There, in the first stitch, we put a single crochet, like that. And a single crochet in each of the next 197 stitches. So basically every single one of your stitches. So now we're going to pull this chain out of the way, and you can see where the second stitch is. It's right there, and you can see where the picot is. There, don't go in there, go into the side of it. The top loops of that stitch are over here. So go into the side of it, locking that loop with a single crochet into the front, like that. Okay, so single crochet all the way down, so the next few are easy. Just go straight into the tops. There's my loop. I like to pull them out of the way so I can see my top loops. So just grab it, now push it to the front and look for this stitch that it's in and get those side loops, which is the top loops, because we're looking at the back of the stitch, they're away from my dominant side, so I've got to find them on the opposite of my dominant side. We've had this conversation a few times, but just a quick reminder. So you can see now I'm making a series of single crochet, and now I have 2 loops locked in at the front. Okay, so just go all the way down, just take your time, don't rush it. Do all of your single crochet, watch your tension, don't tighten up now. Just make sure that you are locking those these chain 10 loops to the front. Now look, if you accidentally get one on the wrong side, it is not the end of the world. You can actually retrieve it after you've gone all the way down. You just have to get in here at some point. Just look where it comes out here. It's not going to be pretty, but you can actually pull it through if you absolutely must. I'm not sure where from. Have to figure that one out, but you can improvise and pull it through if you must. Maybe from there, I don't know, let's try. Yep, there we go. Okay, it's not neat. It actually looks a little bit different because it's a little bit twisted, but you know, instead of frogging 200 stitches, if you've made a mistake, you can make do. All right, keep going, I'll meet you down the end. Oops. And we'll turn and begin the next row. There's nothing to it here. Just remember that you do have 2 stitches at this end, because that was the starting. We had 2. So get your 1 into there, get your 1 into there, onto there. It's really, look, your landmarks are really easy. Your double crochet. You've just got to get a single crochet into every single double crochet. Get your loop. So there's 1 in there and 1 in there. How you do it is up to you, but just make sure it is always easier to get the loop out of the way first and not have to fiddle pulling them through later. Alright, I'll see you for row 125. This one is easy, and this is what it's going to look like with your loops in the front. Where are they? Here. Okay, like that. Alright. Oh, the sun's coming through. Back soon. Now next up is row 125, but it's actually row 125 through to 130, because the 2 rows we just did are the repeat. We're going to make another 3 sets of these 2 rows, which is the chain 10 picot row with the double crochet, and then the return row with the single crochet. So all you've got to do now is, when you've turned, and I think I've got a chain 1 there I don't need, I need a chain 2. When you turn, you need a chain 2 for your first double crochet, just like the very first row we started, and then a double crochet again in the second stitch, just like when we started. There it is there. And then you start making your chain 10 picots, 5, I think 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Picot that chain down into there, like that, and then continue with the 5. Just keep your loop out of the way. Don't catch it, because then you won't be able to make magic, the magic of Jacob's ladder, later. So just be always careful, making sure that you don't catch any of these chain 10 loops. And that's all it is. And I'll just have to do my next picot and start again. I think, how many have I done there? I've only done 3. I need to do 2 more. All right, so let's get all of those done. You get to the end, you put your last double crochet in your last stitch, the turning stitch there. Then you turn around and you put a row of single crochet in everything, just like before when I showed you, pushing the new loops, these ones, pushing them to the front as you work your single crochet row back. So that's going to give you a total of 4 sets of these. You will end on that single crochet row. Now, a note for those of you following the colorway 1, you will have to fasten off your yarn at row 126. So after you do this second row of loops and return with your single crochet, fasten off, secure your ends, and change your color for colorway 1. The rest of us will do whatever we want, and those of you following colorway 2, just follow the pattern. Okay, so I'll come back, I'll do just this one more row, or actually I might do 2, we'll see, and then I'll show you how to finish off. We're going to put one more row on after that, row 131, and then we'll do all the options for joining the Jacob's ladder. Oh, and I will say one more thing. Please, please, please make sure you're counting correctly. Your loops need to be directly above each other. Otherwise, your Jacob's ladder will be a little bit wonky. Okay, it'll be my ladder. So just make sure as you're working, stop and check, make sure they are perfectly lined up. All right, back soon. Okay, so if you have finished all 4 sets, I've only made 3, but you should have 4 if you're following the full pattern. We have one final thing to do. We have row 131, which is after we've turned, we've made our final single crochet return row, the back, and now we turn and we make a chain 2 for our first double crochet. And we're just going to do a row of double crochet all the way down. We need that height so that we can lift up our loops and then anchor them. So just double crochet all the way around, chain 2 to turn, double crochet all the way around down. So let's get that done really quickly, and then well, for those of you who want to, we will create our Jacob's ladder, and then we'll anchor our loops, and then I'll also discuss the other options. Okay, back very soon. You see, we need that. Okay. Okay, so now that we've finished, I'm going to show you first option 1, finishing the loops option 1, which is all of them threaded. So this is how we do it. You can use your hands or you can use your hook. So what you do is you start with the second one and you pull it through the first one, and then you move up, pull the next one down, up through the loop. And so you just go on. You will then have a 4th one to do, and you pull it up through. And the suggestion is that you put a stitch marker in there to anchor. And I would also suggest to you, since you know you want to make it life easy for you, that you can count out where they're supposed to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, we did it every 5. So put your little stitch marker into that 5th stitch there, You know, at the beginning we started in the second stitch, so there's the first stitch, there's my second, so I'll put that there, and then counted 5 and anchored them so that they're as close to accurate as possible before you even start securing them. Okay, so this is option 1 where they are all threaded. You can also thread them if you're finding difficulty with your hands. You can use the hook, but please, one word of advice, don't twist your loops because it doesn't look as pretty. Okay, so you can use your hook and just pull it through and basically crochet them through like that. So these are untwisted, because if they're twisted, it will shorten them and you kind of get this twisty, untidy look here. But look, you know what? It's not the end of the world. We're going for texture, right? So if you do twist them, no one cares. There. So there's my loop. Now, let's finish option 1. I'm going to come back in a sec. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all of my loops are now anchored. And we're going to turn and finish row 132 and anchor all of our top loops there. To make row 132 now, we need to turn so that all the loops are facing away from us. Get your yarn up. Now we're going to chain 1, which does not count as a stitch. So chain 1, and we're going to put a single crochet in the very first stitch that we came up from. So right there, 1 single crochet. Right? Now we're going to work over the chain 10 loop to secure it. Now I'm going to take out my stitch marker just because I've actually split the top loops. But there's my top loop there. We're going to put a single crochet in the next stitch, okay? And we're going to catch the loop at the same time and make 1 single crochet like that. And now we have anchored the top, of the very first set. Well, it's the last set going this way, but first set in reverse. So you see you've got a little single crochet in there. So I might actually swap colours so you can see where I'm putting my stitches. Give me a second. So I've attached some green yarn and made that first single crochet. Now we're going to begin attaching. So the next instruction says working over the chain 10 loop to secure, single crochet 1 in the next stitch. Right, here's my next stitch. So put your hook through that next stitch, grab the top loop, under that as well, pull the yarn through and complete your single crochet. And now we have anchored the very first string of loops with a single crochet in it. It's easier to see when it's a different colour. So you see there? Alright, let's continue. So next up, we have to now make a single crochet 1 in each of the next 4 stitches. This begins the repeat for the whole row. It's in red curly brackets. So single crochet 1 in the next 4 stitches. That gives us a count of 5, if you noticed. That's why I said if you can anchor your loops on a count of 5, which is how we made them, you will be already perfectly set up. Because now again, we're going to work up, we're going to make a single crochet in the next stitch, working through the loop, anchoring the loop. And you can actually, if you've got your stitch marker, and you can actually just use that as your guide, slide through both at the same time, pull through, make a single crochet, and then take a stitch marker out. Or you can take it out first, doesn't matter. So now we've made 2 of them. See? All nicely anchored. Do 1 more. So again, single crochet 4, 1, 2, 3 and 4, like that. My next one actually came unhinged, but that's alright. I'm just going to pull it out. Next stitch, single crochet through the stitch and snagging the chain 10 and make your single crochet. And there you go. And that's what it looks like. Okay? And that will hold them all in place. So you need to do that all the way down. You'll secure the last one here, and then you should have still 1 stitch left. Remember, there was always 1 stitch left over here to work, okay? But check your stitch count list. I think there is 1 stitch. Yes, there is 1 stitch left at the end. So you get all the way down, put that, secure your last Jacob's ladder loops, 1 single crochet in the last stitch, turn. Do not end off your yarn if you're continuing to follow the pattern, because after this comes the Deja Vu section. So this is what it looks like anchored. That's option 1. Now I'm going to reset now and show you how to do option 2. That's leaving all of your loops unattached. Back soon. So option 2 is where you're not going to attach your loops, you're just going to leave them free, hanging free like that. Now if you're worried about things snagging, then you might have to revert to this option, but if you want them like this, that's fine. And your solution for row 132 is the simplest of all. It's just exactly what we did to start option 1. Turn with a chain 1, put a single crochet in the first stitch, and then a single crochet all the way down as if these loops don't even exist. So just work 1 single crochet in every stitch all the way down, including that turning chain. You should still have a correct stitch count of 198 for the full pattern. So you take the opportunity to do a stitch count as well. So that's option 2. Nothing to it. You don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to count. Just make sure that your total stitch count is correct. Chain 1 to turn, single crochet all the way back. Do not end off again because the pattern continues in the same colorways. That's option 2. Now let's quickly cover option 3. Back in a sec. So option 3 is alternating attaching your loops. Okay, so in the pattern, the first set, when we turn around to continue to join, to connect, the first set is not connected. The second one is, and then every alternate one is connected. But you can do it any way you like. You can connect the first ones and leave the second one. That's entirely up to you. You just have to keep track of your stitches where they go, which again, do the count. So for if you're going to connect the first one, it connects into the second stitch, and then you count 5. Then you're going to have to count 9 after that before you connect, because it'll be a multiple of 10 because you're doing every second one. Okay, so you just need to think it through a bit before you start. So you're connecting, and so that your column doesn't skew. You want it to be nice and vertical, straight up. Okay, so just think it through. But or you can do it the way the pattern does. So option 3, let's do that one. It's really easy. Again, as I said, you just got to make sure you've got your stitches counted out. So again, you will have chained 1 to turn. You've got to be doing this from the back. All right, chain 1 to turn and a single crochet in the first stitch. I'll quickly put that, my standing single crochet back in. Now it says single crochet in the first stitch, which we've done, and then single crochet in each of the next 5. So that's 2, 3, 4 and 5, and bingo, here I am. So I've got basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stitches here, because there was the stitch on the end, the extra stitch. Remember, when you come this way, there was always that extra stitch on the end. So you've got 5 in between plus the 1 on the end, and here I am, bang, at this first set of loops that I want to connect. In I go, pick them both up, pick up the stitch and the loop, make my single crochet. Then it tells you, after that, you're now going to put a single crochet in the next 9, because we're skipping over one set, and the 10th stitch will be the connector. So if you've marked your stitches, so here I am skipping this one, go, one more, and here I am. So that should have been 9 from the connection, which is there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Phew, I was a bit nervous. And then the 10th stitch will connect. So I'll take my stitch marker out because I think I've split the threads there, so I want to get nice and cleanly under and connect up, and away you go. So now this one looks like this. So you tidy up a little bit, throw everything around. So 1 not connected, 1 connected, 1 not, 1 connected. So make your own decisions about that. For this option 3, you've got to go all the way to the end. Not connected, and I think my last one will be connected. So you'll connect into that second last stitch. Then you'll have 1 final stitch. You're turning chain 2 from the double crochet row. Make sure you get your final single crochet in there. Your stitch count should still be exactly correct as your starting stitch count, 198 for the full pattern. Do not end off, and you turn, and we come back for Deja Vu, and that will conclude the Jacob's Ladder section. All right, I'll be back for Deja Vu in a moment. Finally, we have the Deja Vu section, row 133 and 134. You need to be on the upper side, the top side, the front side of your work. You know the drill by now. If you're turning with the same color, you need to do a chain 2 to count as your first half double crochet. I'm just making a standing half double crochet all the way down in every stitch. Check your stitch counts. Oops. And chain 2 at the end. When you turn, you do a chain 2 for your first half double crochet again, and half double crochet all the way back, so that you end up with 2 rows of half double crochet. So one starting on the right side, down, turn, chain 2 up, half double crochet all the way down, and you fasten off and secure your ends at that point if you're following the pattern colorway, and we will return for the next section, which we're going to do some bead work with, but we also have some alternatives for you. All right, everybody finish up and we'll be back for beads. Okay, the bead section. Let's talk beads. We've got several notes. It says if you don't want to work with the beads, you don't want to add beads to your blanket, just go to the end of this section, and Granny Squared has provided a stitch called the honey drop stitch as an alternative to the beads. I will show you that after as well. For those of us working the beads, the next rows 135 to 147 might tighten up the work, so please pay attention to that, and if you need to, change your hook size. Don't wait till you're finished, do it early. You'll know after as you're working if you're tightening up. Now it also tells us if the beads are not laying straight, the tension's too tight, so you're pulling them out of shape. There needs to be enough give in the loops that they will just drop evenly and sit correctly. Okay, now the prelude has a whole section on this, so go and read it, and it does suggest a gauge square. Practice, just like the crocodile stitch and some of the loop stitch and other stitches. Practice makes perfect. It's never easy to do the first time you've done it. If you're an experienced bead crocheter, I'm preaching to the choir, skip ahead and grab yourself a cuppa and wait. For the rest of us, we need to get organized. Now, beads. I have been in the habit for centuries I tell you, of collecting and keeping all of my broken necklaces, bracelets, anything, you know, all of my cosmetic jewelry. When it breaks and snaps, I keep anything that's got like a hole in it that can be used for something else. I keep. Some of these big ones I've used as buttons, you know. So yes, waste not, want not. So this was a necklace, one of my favourite from, God, I can't even remember how long ago, but it broke, and I kept all the bits. It had two kinds. It had these beautiful little round ones, and it had these oddly shaped ones. Now I've threaded a few on, so you need to do the same. You need to get your beads, check the prelude for the specifications, and just thread them on. Now there's a few, thread 98 for those following the full pattern. Those of you doing your own stitch count, thread half plus one, but I'd add a few extras. You can always take them off at the end, but add a few extras just in case, because you can't thread them once you've started. So you just take your beads and thread them onto your yarn and push them down out of the way, and we will use them one at a time as we're working. Now if you're using oddly shaped beads like me, pay attention, because I didn't, and I put them all in different directions. But I mean, that could be good too, you know. You don't, just do whatever you like. Gosh, these are pretty. All right, so let's get started. Get your beads all threaded on. Add some extras. You can remove them after you finish and cut your yarn. I wouldn't stress too much. You just keep pushing them down as you work. All right, so get ready. Practice a little bit, and then we will come back and start row 135 in a second. Let's get started. Row 135. We begin row 135 on the wrong side. So flip the work over so it's facing away from you. Okay, so the good side is facing away. Now, here's my thread. I'm going to use a standing stitch. Now, for those of you who are continuing your yarn using the same color all the way through and did not end off after Deja Vu, guys, I'm sorry to say you are going to have to end off. There's no other way to thread your beads. You have to cut the yarn. So take the time and do that. Okay, now we begin by joining in the first stitch, which is my turning chain here from Deja Vu, and make a chain 1 that does not count, and then put a single crochet in that first stitch. So I'm just going to start with a standing single crochet, if I can. The beads are going to be a little bit awkward, so let me push them out of the way. There we go. Now where's my chain 2? There it is. Let me get my standing single crochet in there. There we go. So 1 single crochet in that first stitch. Then it says a single crochet in the next stitch. That's this one over here, like that. Now in the red brackets it says move a bead. Now I'm doing this awkwardly at first, but you'll get the hang of it. I'm just going to bring them a little bit closer, not too close. It says move 1 bead. Where's my yarn? That's not it. 1 bead right up to the needle, to the hook, and put a single crochet in the next 2 stitches. So you move it right up next to the hook and single crochet into the next 2 stitches. Now don't get tight. Remember we said watch your tension. Don't get too tight here. Push them out of the way if they're too close. And there, hey presto, we have 1 bead on the outside, on the right side of our work. So it was 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches after that, and that's all you're going to do all the way down. So grab another bead right up against the hook into the next stitch, not too tight. Got to let them be able to drop into position. Okay, so 1 single crochet in the next 2 stitches with that bead attached. So 1 there and 1 there. Okay, into the next one. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochet, another bead. Now there may be good techniques, but I don't do a lot of bead work, so I'm probably not going to be as comfortable doing this as others of you. That's 1 single crochet and a second. Grab another bead. Now if you've got a better technique, share it in the group please. I'm sure there'll be lots of people there who would love to know an easier way to do this if there is one. I don't. You just have to really hold the tension very, very lightly. So here we go again. Single crochet into the next 2 stitches. And what we're getting is this. So one single crochet has a bead in it and the other one doesn't. But it's just because we've threaded them on. And there they are. So this will be a little bit slow going until you figure out how to do it a better way, or just, you know, just use it as, you know, your meditation. Just go slow and get them done if you want them. Right, so get to the end. I'll meet you there. Make sure you put 2 single crochet in. So the first one always has the bead. I'm really fumbling, aren't I? It's not a really good look for me, is it? No. 1 there and 1 there. First one has the bead. Put it in there. I think because I thread my yarn like this, it's causing me trouble. I just have to just hold it. I think that makes life a lot easier. There, like that. Split. Bead. 1. And 2, and actually I'm all the way down the end, so I might as well finish up. Make sure your tension is good. Like that. And so when you get to here, I've still got a couple more beads to do. Let's do the last couple. 1 and 2. 1 more bead in. Get the thread out of the way there. And do the last 2 single crochet, and that will take you right to the end. Okay, you should have no leftover stitches at that point. Your last 2 single crochet should use your last 2 stitches. So if we turn around now, and this is what we have. 2 single crochet at that end, 2 single crochet at the beginning, and a whole bunch of very well anchored beads. And look, I wouldn't worry too much about this whole tension thing if you think your beads are not straight. Well, I mean, this is not a display piece, is it? This is a piece that someone's going to use. If it was a display piece, I'd say, yeah, make sure you get your lines perfectly straight. But it isn't, is it? We want people to use these and play with them. So they're going to be pushed around. And that's the whole point. So don't fret too much about that. Get yourself to the end. Do not end off. Turn so that we are now facing the right side to begin row 136. And I'll be back for that. So row 136, as you can see, I had 3 extra beads. I'm just going to leave them. I'm just going to keep pushing them down and out of the way so I can continue my project. It might be annoying for you, but you know, better to have too many than not enough, I say. So row 136 is after we've turned, so we're looking at the correct side, the right side of our work. Chain 1, which does not count, and a single crochet in that first stitch, and then just a single crochet in every stitch down. So just behind the beads, just do your single crochet row all the way down. Keep your stitch count correct. You should end up with 198 single crochet. And now we're framing the beads. So get down to the end and wait for me, and then we'll turn for row 137. Back soon. Just single crochet, nothing else. Row 137 now, you need to have turned so that we are facing the wrong side now. You need to make a chain 2 for your first half double crochet, and we have again another easy round of 1 half double crochet in every stitch. So that's the chain 2 for the first stitch. Here's my second stitch over here. Just a half double crochet, and that will create a nice little gap between our beadwork. Oops. Oh, goodness. This acrylic is just sticking to my gloves because it's so rough. Can't win. Okay, so get that done all the way down. Don't lose any stitches. Keep your stitch count going correctly. 198 for the full pattern. Do not end off. Turn and wait for me, and I'll talk you through what happens next. Here we go. It's a nice little bit of a gap here. Row 138. Now I've been keeping a little secret from you. At the end of row 137, which was this half double crochet row we've just completed, you have to fasten off and secure your ends. Now some people might say why, and I'll say because you need to thread another 98 beads onto your yarn again so that we can do another row. Now you might say, well, why didn't I just do them all in the first place? Well, if you look at your picture, I'm just going to scroll up quickly. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of beads. Now, what's 5 times 98? It's a lot. You put that many beads on your yarn, you're not going to be able to move them. It's just going to be impossible to move them down. So Granny Squared has done her best, and we're doing it in sections. 98 beads is still going to be a little bit awkward to manage, okay? Mine are a bit tight, in the little holes are quite tight, but if you've bought exactly the specified bead, you might not have as much trouble as I'm having. But guys, there's always a reason, and it's always for convenience. So, you know, as long as you are happy to do it this way, please continue. So you will fasten off and secure your end there at the end of that half double crochet row. Now for row 138, you will thread new beads onto your yarn, 98 of them, and you will again begin from the wrong side, just like we did for the very first row, which was 135. So you can rewind and re-watch how we did it, because you're basically starting fresh. Okay, so you will do 135 again. You will turn, you'll do your return single crochet row from this side. No, you do the beads from that side, the single crochet from this side, and then you turn again for the home stretch of the half double crochet. That's your repeat, those 3 rows: the bead, the single crochet, and the half double crochet. Check the color changes as well, because we are cutting to put the beads on. At some point you might be changing your colors, so check the colorways. I can see there's a change. Actually, for both colorways there's a change. It looks like it happens around at row 141. You both change colour. So you're going to be fastening off and securing your ends anyway, so you can put the next lot of beads on, but take note and change your colours. I have to trust you to do that for yourselves, guys. So you will do all of those sets. You will finish with row 147. That is your last bead row. Once you've completed 147, Deja Vu will go on directly after that. There's no other stitch work to go after the beads, all right? So I'll see you then for that. Meantime, I'm now going to show you the others how to do the honey drop stitch. Back soon. Okay, so for those who are not doing the bead stitch, this is the honey drop stitch alternative for you. Now we have some notes. It just says to remember when working this stitch to ensure that the bobble part of it sits to the front of the blanket and that you're keeping your stitch nice and tight. And there's a full photo tutorial in the prelude if you want to go and have a look at that as well. So we begin with row 135 and we begin on the right side of the fabric. So facing up, okay, the right side where your loops are, and you join in the first stitch and you make a chain 2. That counts as your first half double crochet. So for those going straight into the honey drop, you'll be finishing up from your Deja Vu. You will flip and you will be on the right side as soon as you finish Deja Vu. So you're already here. Chain 2 for your first half double crochet, and then it says honey drop stitch. In the next stitch, chain 1, skip the next stitch. That's your whole repeat all the way down 98 times for the full pattern. So how do we do a honey drop stitch? Well, let's have a look at the prelude. It says yarn over 4 times, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Don't make them too loose, keep them a reasonably good tight tension on there. Insert the hook into the indicated stitch. For us it's the next stitch. Now that's not here. This is the first stitch with the chain 2 coming out of it. That's my next stitch over here. So over here, insert the hook and pull up a loop. So now we have 6 loops on our hook. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, the second dot point in the tutorial says yarn over and pull through 2 loops 4 times. So let's do that. Yarn over, pull through 2, once, twice, 3 times and 4. Okay, so now we've got this big chunky piece here. Now it says you've got 2 loops left on your hook, and then we insert the hook into the same stitch and pull up a loop, making sure that the bobble, see the red bits there, the bobble sits to the front of the work. So we've got to make sure it's there. Go back into that same stitch, pull up 1 loop. Now we have 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3, and that is the honey drop stitch complete. It's thicker than a chain. So it's not as thin as a chain and pliable, but it's chunkier than a chain because of all those yarn over pull through 2s that we did. Right, so the next instruction is to chain 1, skip 1 stitch there, and then we start the repeat again. Honey drop stitch in the next stitch. So yarn over 4 times, skip 1, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 4 times, 3 and 4. There it is. It's a little bit awkward for me for some reason, I'm not sure why. Leaves me 2 loops. Go back into the same space, pull the loop out of the way, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 3, and that's all it is. So now we've done 2. Chain 1 to complete the repeat. Skip a stitch, 4, skip into the next stitch, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 4 times, 3 and 4. Oops, no yarn overs. Making mistakes already. Pull up another loop from that same stitch, yarn over, pull through all 3. Now you've got to be careful. So if your loop pops through, just pull it out again. Right. That's all you have to do all the way around. Don't forget those chain 1s in between, otherwise it will pull. Okay, so just do 1 more, 2, 3, 4, skip 1, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 4 times, 3 and 4. Oops, don't split the yarn. Pull up another loop from the same stitch, yarn over, pull through all 3 and chain 1. Done. Okay, so let's get all the way down to the other end. I'll meet you down there. After 91 repeats, you will have 2 stitches left. So let's get down there and I'll see you there. There we go. So down the other end, and it did take a little bit of practice to find a good rhythm with these, so persevere, don't be discouraged. Your last repeat finishes with your honey drop stitch and your chain one. Now that leaves me 2 stitches to go. That stitch there, because remember we're looking at the back of these stitches, so there's that stitch there and my turning chain 2. So my chain 1 is there, I skip that stitch, that's part of the repeat, is to skip that stitch, and then we're going to put a half double crochet into the very last stitch, or as in my case, my turning chain, and probably the same for you as well. And that completes row 135. So you should have, for a full set, is 2 half double crochet, 1 at each end, and 98 honey drops and 98 chain 1 spaces for the full blanket. Okay, don't end off your yarn. We're going to turn for row, what is it? Row 136. Back in a second. For row 136 now, I've turned. You need to have turned. And all we're going to do is make a chain 1 that does not count, it doesn't count, and put a single crochet into this first stitch, which was my last half double crochet. So it's a little bit tricky to get into there because of that chain that's next to it, but just get in there and put a single crochet in it. Okay, now the repeat begins 1 single crochet in the chain 1 space, so 1 in there, and then 1 single crochet in the next stitch, which is your honey drop stitch. So there's my honey drop stitch, 1 single crochet in there. And that's all you're going to do all the way down. 1 into the chain space, 1 into the honey drop stitch, 1 into the chain space. So you've just got to find them. So we've got a multiple of 2 here going down, except for our ends, 1 in the chain space. Very, very easy, but be careful and keep an eye on your stitch count, okay? 1 in the honey drop, 1 in the chain space. That's it. And so that will now tidy up a little honey drops. Sorry, I'll put that down like that. There we go. So now we're just closing up. Alright, there they are. So just get yourself all the way to the end. Your repeat ends with a single crochet in the next stitch, which will be this last honey drop stitch here. There's my last honey drop. There's the top of it. That's where my repeat ends. Okay, single crochet in the next stitch, and then the final instruction is a single crochet in the next stitch, which is that chain 2 turning chain that we had when we started the previous row. Remember, we had a chain 2. So don't miss that one. Whatever you do, you'll lose 1 stitch in your count. Then we're going to turn. Do not end off your yarn. This is what it looks like, and then we'll come back for row 137. Okay, so row 137 onwards pretty much is going to be a repeat of the 2 rows we've already done. So 135, which was the honey drop, and 106, which was the return row of single crochet. You're going to do another 5 sets of those. So repeat this, then repeat this 5 more times. So that will bring you up to the end of row 146. 146 is your return row of single crochet. So get all of those done. You can do more if you like. You can do fewer if you like. I'm only going to do this one. I don't need any more. Then I will rejoin you for row 147 because we do need to put 1 final row on it to bring it up to 147, the same as the bead stitch section was. And then we'll put on Deja Vu. So I'll meet you here for row 147. Take your time and back soon. Okay, so hopefully you've got all of your honey drop section completed. Now we're doing row 147 to finish off so we can begin our Deja Vu. So all it is a second row of single crochet. So chain 1 that does not count, single crochet in the first stitch, and then every stitch thereafter. Simple, simple, easy peasy, nothing to it. So let's do that final row of full single crochet all the way down. Then turn. The pattern does not change colorways. I hope you were checking your colorways as you went through the honey drop section. I didn't remind you, but I have been beating that drum to death, so I thought I wouldn't do it, but here I am, I'm doing it again. Alright, finish this last row and then we'll come back for Deja Vu. Not that I really need to show you Deja Vu anymore, but I will come back. Okay, for our second lot of Deja Vu for this part 6, we have some notes. It says to remember to go back to your original hook size. If you changed for any of this stitch work, whether it's bead or honey drop, if you changed your hook, go back to the original one now. And there's 2 qualifications here. If you did the bead section, you need to begin now the Deja Vu with the right side facing up. If you work the honey drop stitch, you need to begin with the wrong side facing up. Please, please, please take note of that. Otherwise, I don't know, something bad's going to happen. So just, I don't want anybody blaming me for the mistakes. So make sure you check the pattern. Whichever selection you did, start on the right side. Bead section starts the Deja Vu from the right side. Honey drop section starts Deja Vu from the wrong side. Okay, check your colorways, fasten off and secure your ends when you're told to, and then just get Deja Vu going. And we know how Deja Vu works. It's either a turning chain 2 or a half double crochet, standing half double crochet in the very first stitch. I can't even get into it. What's going on with me? See, we're finishing again and I'm getting anxious. I hate finishing. Why do I hate finishing? Will you look at that? There, gotcha. Half double crochet all the way down in every single stitch. Keep your stitch counts correct. Chain, turn at the end and chain 2 for your first half double, and then half double in every stitch down for the return row as well. It's old hat, we've done that a gazillion times already. So alright, I'll pop up my little section. I've only done 1 of each, but you've done plenty more, so it's going to look gorgeous. Please post pictures in the Facebook group. So 148 and 149 are Deja Vu. Make sure you start on the correct side. And that's it from me for part 6. Wow, we are on the one more section, and then we've got a border. Yay! Alright, see you next time.